Welcome to the MyBusiness Podcast, where we sit down with local businesses and we talk about who they are, where they come from, and what inspires them to be in business.
Hello and welcome back to the MyBusiness Podcast, where we uncover some of the Gold Coast's best businesses and dive into the minds of industry leaders. Now today I'm thrilled to have with me Brad Buchanan, a renowned and very experienced hypnotherapist, joining me right here in our Burleigh studio. Brad has built a formidable reputation through his practice, helping countless individuals harness the power of their subconscious to overcome challenges, especially trauma and social anxiety. Brad, it's great to have you here to share your expertise.
Adam, thank you for having me.
No problem. Look, let's start at the beginning. Tell me about your journey. How did you get into hypnotherapy?
Interesting journey. If I look back, 15, 16 years ago, I wouldn't expect myself to be a therapist at all. But I used to manage restaurants and bars, and I was a food and beverage manager up on Hamilton Island years ago when I was about 27.
Okay.
Was about 18 years ago. But I actually had an accident. And it left me spending 2 weeks in Townsville Hospital. I got airlifted, and I was paralysed for around, I think it was 13 days in total.
Wow.
But I left the hospital walking, not very well.
Yep.
And then it was a bit of a road to recovery. So I began to work through, looking at the physical side of the body as what I knew.
Yep.
And I began to, work with physiotherapists, but I wasn't getting anywhere. And I sort of stumbled on an older lady by chance one day. A friend picked me up and took me out for lunch because I was quite depressed because I couldn't walk anymore, about 150 metres, my legs shaking, and it was quite debilitating. And I stumbled on this little old lady that taught, of all things, Reiki energy healing.
Okay.
And I looked, and for some reason, I walked past this little shop going to Montezuma's in Burleigh Heads years ago, and I looked and I seen this sign, and it said Reiki. And for some reason, I was just intrigued and really drawn to it. So I went to open the door to go into this shop, and it was just around 5 o'clock because we're going for dinner. And this old lady, she stopped me at the door. She looks at me, and she goes, "Oh, you're here for Reiki." And I thought, how does she know? Because she had about 100 different pictures, all these pictures covering the whole windows.
Right.
And the Reiki was a little one up in the top corner.
Yep.
And I said, actually, yeah, I was going to ask you about it. She goes, good. And she goes, I was expecting you, and I got a class run tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And she goes, I'll see you there, and close the door on me. And I looked back, and my mate looked at me and he goes, that was strange. And I said, yeah, it was. So anyway, so I thought, I went home after dinner, I thought about it, and I thought that was too weird an experience. So I went down and I began learning Reiki. So then I began to learn how to, use the power of my mind to begin to heal, learn to meditate, understanding, the law of vibration and how everything runs on a frequency, and emotions of the body, which I never really looked at as a young guy. I was always completely, not in that definitely not in that mindset. And I started the journey. Then I started a clinic over in Labrador, teaching people Reiki energy healing after a couple of years of training, and doing treatments on people. Then I noticed a bit of a pattern that I was helping people, and then 3-4 months later they'd begin to come back, and I'm like, that's interesting, because we shifted and moved that out of the physical body. Yep. Then I began to notice and started looking into belief and understanding that we can shift and move the energy in the body, but if we don't change the belief, then we can actually begin to manifest that issue or problem back into the physical body, into the mind, into the life, into their personal reality. So then I I had started looking at hypnosis, and I thought I was always intrigued around how the mind worked ever since I was a little boy. And so then I decided to head to Melbourne because there was an academy I wanted to study there and do a 2-year diploma with. So I went down and I began to start studying hypnosis. And to be honest, it's been a massive change in my life, learning how to work with hypnosis and work with that emotional part of the mind, which is very, very interesting. And then I've been sort of lucky to, and then I've studied, I think about 3 or 4 different diplomas, advanced diplomas, and worked one-on-one with some of the best hypnotists in the world, which I've gone, where I've actually found something really interesting, and then I've approached them. I've done one-on-one training just to enhance my skills as an individual practitioner. I don't follow anyone else's protocols. What I've done is I've learned, understood how the mind works. I've learned from great minds that work very well in looking at certain issues and how they work, and then I've sort of just adapted all my knowledge into the way that
the way you now deliver.
The way I now deliver.
Yep.
So I work with very intuitively in the mind, obviously with a lot of experience and understanding how the mind works. But I really follow my intuition when I'm working, which seems to prevail and works really well.
Okay, so for anyone listening, Brad, how would you describe hypnotherapy and how it actually works? I know that's probably a hard question to answer, in a short form, but what are the foundation principles? How does it work?
So, well, hypnosis, to really answer that question, we really need to look at the mind as a whole. So the mind is the brain in action. And when we look at the mind, we really got, to me, we've got three very distinct parts. We have the conscious mind, and that's where we are now. Mm-hmm. That's the analytical mind. It's also the rational mind. It's the willpower and the working memory. Now, that's really all the conscious mind does. Then we look below that level of surface, and we have what we call the subconscious mind. As a hypnotherapist, that's where we work. So when we look at the subconscious mind, well, really, the subconscious mind is where the real person is. It's all those beliefs in the mind that create our personal reality. It's our emotional mind. It's our permanent memory. But also it's our protective part of the mind. So our mind, our subconscious must protect us against danger, real or imagined.
Right.
So if we're in a particular situation, and now when we look rationally, we go, why would I be scared in this situation? Why would I be having that anxiety and fear? But yet on the subconscious mind from a past experience, well, that can create that anxiety going, hey, this is dangerous. We begin to feel negative feelings in the body, which then we want to create a behavior, and that's really to get out of that situation, that danger. Now, in hypnosis, what we do is we use certain techniques to bypass that critical factor part of the conscious mind,
right,
to then go into the subconscious mind, where we can then have a look at why the subconscious mind is protecting that person in that way, by creating certain thoughts in the mind, certain feelings, and certain behaviors. So really, we use techniques to get into that permanent memory. So then we can find the underlying cause of why that person's experiencing, the certain negative feelings, behaviors, or certain patterns. And then once we find the underlying cause, then we can get the learning, the understanding, then we can change it.
Right. So finding the underlying reason is critical.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And that's and that's in my thought as a hypnotherapist, the way I work the underlying issue.
Right.
So I like to find the cause where that belief started, because we can actually find and locate where that belief started around that individual or that issue. Once we find the belief, then we can do the therapy around that event. We can we can get the learning, the understanding, release the emotion, then we can change the belief. So the belief could be one as well. When I'm in social situations, I get anxious, nervous, and I'm really scared. To the new one and go, actually, that's not scary at all. I'm actually feeling confident. I'm feeling calm, relaxed, and I can deal with this situation in a positive way. If we change that belief in that subconscious mind, so next time we're in that particular environment, we've got that new belief. So we're going to go in there, we're going to be confident, calm, and relaxed. And that's really what we're doing in hypnosis. We're changing those beliefs, those underlining, and finding the underlying issues of why someone is experiencing a problem or an issue. Okay,
and that makes sense. But can it deal with just about anything? I mean,
it's I like working with. I see a lot over many years. I've seen a lot of people come in with quite bizarre sort of issues.
Yep.
And I enjoy it, because I'm a hypnotherapist, but really I'm a navigator in the mind, how I see it. I find the underlying cause. I specialise in regression and parts therapy when I work. So I'm working in what we call a somnambulistic state, which is where we have deep physical relaxation, but we have mental amnesia. When we have mental amnesia, it's not really what we think of amnesia, but we have that mental amnesia. It gives us that access to then go into the permanent memory of the mind, those memories that are sort of, the conscious mind can't find.
Right.
So, and then we can access that issue.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it's sort of like the using an analogy maybe that the subconscious mind is what's driving most behaviours.
Absolutely.
But we don't know about it. It's there in the background. So you can go in and sort of, once you're there, have discovered the problem, for want of a better phrase, the issue, and worked through that. You can then reprogram that driver in there, and that automatically changes behaviours as someone comes out the other end. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, behind every behaviour, in my experience, is always an emotion.
Yep.
If we have a negative emotion, we have those thoughts, which creates a negative emotion in the body, which creates the behaviour. So, and the subconscious mind is the behavioural part of the mind. So we can have willpower and go, I'm going to be doing this, but then, if the subconscious mind that's not the programming, well, willpower is going to be pushed straight out the door. We can hold on with willpower for a week, 2 weeks if you're really strong. As soon as that willpower weakens, bang. That old behaviour pattern comes back in, because that's the program.
Yep.
Really, the subconscious mind is a computer, and it must run on the program that's installed in it. Right. And if that program is installed, for example, that you have social anxiety or a phobia around in social situations, well, that's exactly what you're going to have.
Sure.
Because that's the program running, just like a computer.
Okay. So you specialise in trauma therapy and, social anxiety. Tell me a bit more about that.
Absolutely. So, Adam, I've been doing PTSD now for a bit over 10 years. But probably in the last 6 months, I've really transitioned into working and really niching in social anxiety. Now, social anxiety in itself is trauma. There's a traumatic experience while the person is anxious or, lonely, nervous, uncomfortable, feeling judged and awkward in social situations. So it is trauma. So I'm really niching in social anxiety, but I'm just niching in trauma, really, in a certain type of trauma.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've been getting good results with this. What? How do people recognise they've got this, and then find out that what you're able to do in order to get them over it?
So people, when we look at social anxiety, it could be as much as the person wants to go out with friends, but every time they go out with friends or go into a social situation, they're feeling judged, or they're feeling extremely awkward, nervous, overwhelmed, begin to even shake, trembling, sweating, having all those physical issues in the body. So we actually use those physical issues to find the underlying cause, which we can trace that that feeling, the emotion, the energy back to the issue where that belief started.
And will that usually be an event that happened in their life?
Absolutely.
Right.
For example, I worked with a young lady last week for social anxiety. Everywhere she goes, she feels judged. She feels like people are laughing at her. She feels nervous. Every time she leaves after that situation, she goes hours and hours over analysing conversations and how she could have performed better. So we found the underlying cause. It was actually when she was 8 years old. She got up to do a presentation in class, and she had a book with her, and she got up. She was a little bit nervous, as you are as little kids. She dropped the book. Everyone in the classroom laughed, and then she took on a belief that, she's, and you can imagine how that's compounded over time. Every time she's been in a similar situation, that energy and that belief has grown stronger and more powerful. Then over time, it becomes quite a debilitating issue, from something as simple as dropping a book in a classroom when you're about to do a speech.
Wow.
And being laughed at.
That can
cause
compound
that as well.
over time.
Absolutely.
To grow into a major issue. And
absolutely.
I guess you see that a lot with your clients, that it could have just been something so simple as a child, and just over time a belief system has been formed. But look at on the flip side, when you get to see these clients and you get to help them and you see them walk out and you hear them later on about how that's got to be satisfying and very fulfilling.
Oh, absolutely. When I work with a client, especially around trauma and social anxiety, but social anxiety in particular, because when someone has social anxiety, Adam, they're very avoidant. They're lonely. They've got that part in the mind that really wants to go out and have friendships, relationships, be themselves, be calm, comfortable, confident. But yet they've got this belief in the mind that every time they're in that environment, well, they're scared, they're nervous, they're anxious, they're feeling judged. So they begin to stay at home and become lonely and avoidant. So it's very interesting. When I've worked with someone, they come back next week and they've gone, actually, Brad, I've started that hobby I want to do. And how'd you go? I enjoyed it. I've made a couple of people that I want to be friends with. I've actually caught caught up with coffee, and they're beginning to live their life away from social anxiety, which is incredible to see. And in such a short period of time as well. Usually it takes around 3 sessions to really completely, not only really it's the first session and second session where we're really working on the belief around it as well. And the third session, we're just compounding that new belief of confidence. So I'm calm, comfortable, confident in social situations. And we build that to become so strong, so powerful. So when that person goes there, well, they're just calm, confident, and happy with himself.
Amazing.
Amazing. It's great to see. Rewarding.
Tell me about some of the misconceptions around, because I'm sure there's plenty.
Absolutely.
What do people think about hypnotherapy that just isn't true?
Well, the control is the biggest one. People feel that the hypnotist can control them or implant suggestions in their mind that they don't want.
Right.
Now that's absolute. That's as far from the truth as anything could be, from black and white, really.
Right.
So when we're in hypnosis, we actually spend a lot of time in hypnosis. Every time we've experienced like anxiety or a negative feeling, even a positive feeling, that's the emotional part of the mind. So we go in and out of hypnosis all day. So it's a complete natural state of the mind. But when we're in hypnosis, it's a heightened state of awareness. It's a learning state. So we have the choice whether or not we want to accept a suggestion or if we want to reject it. So if we hear a suggestion and we go, well, I don't really want that suggestion, you're going to block the suggestion and it's not going to come in. So you're not going to accept it. But people go, well, I've seen a stage show.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up.
Yeah, and stage hypnosis works the same way as therapeutical hypnosis. But the difference is when we look at stage hypnosis, well, one's for entertainment, one's for therapy. But the person always has the choice whether or not to accept the suggestion. So, for example, if let's take 2 different individuals. We've got an introvert, we've got an extrovert. If we've got someone who's an introvert, they're not going to go on the stage because, one, they're uncomfortable. They don't want to be center of attention. Mm-hmm. They want to be in the background watching the show. But then I'm sure, Adam, you've got friends. You might even be the same way yourself. But you got people that like to be center of attention. They're extroverts. They have fun, especially when they're in hypnosis. They go on the stage. They go in a good level of trance. When they hear the suggestion, they hear it and they add it up real quick and they go, well, my friends are here. This is going to be fun. I can let my hair down. Therefore, that suggestion's comfortable. So accept it and they go into the behavior. But at any time during the show, they could simply go, actually, I've had enough. And they can bring themselves straight out of trance and go back and sit in their chair and just become part of the audience.
Wow. Okay. Because
So
I've
all
always
choice.
wondered, because you do see those wacky things go on those stages and them doing all sorts of crazy things, and so they are fully hypnotized during that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And the thing is, they're usually the creative people that go on the stage as well. So, when we look at good subjects and bad subjects for hypnosis, there's really no good subject or bad subject. It's
Is it how open you are to being hypnotized?
It's actually fear. So fear about misconceptions, or fear about if there's a level of fear around control, or a fear of what may come up. That's the only thing that's going to stop someone from going into a good level of trance.
Wow!
And that's, as a hypnotist, we have those conversations and we make sure the individual doesn't have any fears around hypnosis or the misconceptions, and instantly they'll go into one full deep level of trance.
Awesome. Yeah. What advice would you have for someone maybe considering hypnosis for the first time?
Be open-minded. It's amazing what you can achieve. And I'll give you an example of this. When if we're working, say, with a conscious mind, Adam, we've got a few different sensitizing experiences. One, we've got the initial sensitizing experience. That's where the belief started. Then we've got secondary sensitizing experiences, and they're secondary sensitizing experience that compound that belief to make it stronger. So it builds the energy and the emotion. Then we've got the activating sensitizing experience. Now, the activating sensitizing experience is the one that actually, that belief then, boom, jumps into the conscious awareness. So the belief could have started at, say, 3 years old for something quite simple, but they took on a belief and they started there. Then when they're 15, 16, boom, something happens. Because it's been building up, it jumps in the conscious awareness, and the conscious mind perceives that to be the actual issue, which in a lot of ways it's part of the issue. But really, we don't have to work with that event. Like I've worked with over many years PTSD with people like let's say they've been to war in the military. Now their conscious mind saying, well, this is the issue because I never had the problem consciously until I went to Afghanistan or I went to one of those environments. Then I come back with the PTSD. But when we actually work in hypnosis, we actually follow the energy, the feeling, the emotion. We go straight past this event and we're back to an event when we're 3 or 4 where the belief started. The interesting thing is when we do the work there, we change the belief, then we wash the belief through every memory experience in hypnosis. Then we can drop them back into the event that the conscious mind thought was the issue. And because there's a new belief, they're calm and relaxed and go, actually, wow, it's a complete different perspective.
I love that. So finding the root cause, but then washing it through every situation and conscious event in your mind where that played out.
Absolutely. Because a lot of people feel that we have to look at all the different events and work with every single event that's happened around it, but we don't. Once we find the initial event, we work with that, then we've changed the belief, and then we wash that new belief through. And that's why it works so fast and so proficient.
Awesome. So there's people out there listening now who are the people you want to help? There's someone out there and they're saying, is this for me? So they're people who are experiencing social anxiety or any sort of really, traumatic event in their past. Absolutely.
Ideally, Adam, where I'm moving now, I really enjoy working, so much satisfaction working with people with social anxiety, people that having difficulty living their life. They're lonely, they're avoidant, they're staying out of all social situations, even beginning to have agoraphobia as well because of their underlying core beliefs. And they're the people I really I want to spend my time for the next 20, 30 years of my career working and honing in, just working with social anxiety because it's debilitating.
Yep.
It affects all aspects of life. Even their earning because they won't go for that position they want because they're too anxious and too nervous to even have conversations in meetings and so forth. Yep. It affects everywhere. It affects their social life.
Yep.
It affects everything.
Everything.
Yeah, really does.
So how can listeners, learn more about your services and, potentially book a session with you?
Sure. So they can jump on my website, Adam, at www.bradbuchananhypnotherapy.com.au, where they can book in a strategy call, which goes around 15-20 minutes, even if they want to ask some questions.
Ask some questions, find out a bit more.
Absolutely. I've talked to many
As it
people.
relates specifically to
their issue.
Yep.
And how it affects them as an individual. Also, they can. My phone number's there. They can give me a call.
Yep.
But I'd suggest booking the strategy call because then we can sit in and we can spend that 15-20 minutes in finding out how the social anxiety or the trauma affects that individual, and that could lead to coming doing work for me. It could lead just to purely walking away with a little bit of extra knowledge and then coming back and see me in 6 months.
So
and that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, look, thank you, Brad, for shedding light on what seems like a bit of a superpower to me, hypnotherapy, and how it can, really bring about some profound changes in one's life. So look, if you're intrigued by what hypnotherapy can offer, or, out there just struggling, especially with social and anxiety, I encourage you, explore this further and reach out to Brad through his website. That's bradbuchananhypnotherapy.com.au. So BRADBUCHANAN hypnotherapy.com.au. So thanks everyone for listening to another episode of the My Business Podcast. We look forward to bringing you more insights from leaders like Brad in our upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep striving to understand more about the incredible potential of your mind. Brad, thanks so much for being guest on the My Business Podcast.
Adam, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the My Business Podcast. If you want to be on our podcast, please reach out to the team on all our socials at mybusiness.pod.